We are going to attempt here, however awkwardly, to give you a full day of content. We had so many good things planned, including a video presentation that would have had in one corner of the screen for all of the hours that we were doing it, Bill Simmons's heartbroken face at the Celtics game, because Stugotz, I can't get over this part of the funny, because in the most rollicking building that they have had in Boston in a century, that everybody was talking about how excited and how great the energy was, the air started leaking out of the building on the very first play when Boston realized, oh my God, our best player is hurt. And in the second half, he couldn't move. But we've got with us right now, we're going to split into groups in a second. But right here, we have Stugotz, Mike Ryan, Brad Williams, comedic great, comedic giant, Brad Williams, Billy Gill, Roy Bellamy, Jeremy Taché, Tony, and JuJu. In other words, way too many people. We will split this up in groups in a second. Yes, Stugotz.
Al Horford did not get hurt. It was Jason Tatum, just to clarify, okay?
Thank you. I want to read to the group an assortment of stats, and I want everybody to pick one, but you can only pick one as I go around the room on most amazing of these things I'm going to present to you. From StatMuse, the Heat this season were 30th in points, 27th in rebounds, 25th in assists, 25th in offensive rating, 21st in net rating, going to the NBA Finals. Duncan Robinson, according to Rohan Nadkarni, Duncan Robinson shot 88.2% in the restricted area in the conference finals. Also, according to Rohan.
That's funny.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. They're going to keep getting funnier. Also, according to Rohan, Caleb Martin regular season, 9.6 points, 4.8 rebounds, 1.6 assists, 46% shooting, 35% from three. Caleb Martin conference finals, 19.5 points. That's 10 more points, 6.5 rebounds, same number of assists, 60% shooting, 49% from three. This from Josh Eberle. Caleb Martin, 135 points on 88 shots. Jaylen Brown, 133 points on 134 shots. This from Tom Haberstroh, made threes in the series. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, 18. Caleb Martin and Tyler Hero, 22. From Tom Haberstroh, Jaylen Brown's 8 turnovers, career high, and the most in a Celtics Game 7 in franchise history. From John Ollinger, Boston becomes the first city to lose a home Game 7 to an 8 seed in both hockey and basketball in the same season. Go ahead and choose. What do you guys got plenty to choose from there. What is your favorite from all of those, Stugotz?
I'm going, man, it was Duncan Robinson right up until that Hollinger stat. That's my favorite right there.
Again, points and paint giant Duncan Robinson. Unstoppable in the paint. 13 for 15 in the restricted area. Mike, what's your favorite stat in there?
It's not even in there, Dan. It's at the Heat shot over 50% from three times this regular season. And in this series, they did it 3 times. They matched their season output within this series. And also, I think back to games like the play-ins, in which I believe Caleb Martin was 0 from the field in the play-in game against Atlanta. I believe Bam Adebayo was 1 for 9 in the game for your season against Chicago. This was a team that needed to close out those final 2 minutes against Chicago perfectly in order to get into the playoffs. It's objectively hilarious. It is hilarious. This is hilarious how the Heat have found themselves in the NBA Finals.
What are you shaking your head about, Billy?
It's not how the game works. You just have to pick one of the other stats.
That's true. He went off the board. That's usually that's a Billy move. I think you stole Billy's move before Billy tried his move. So, Billy, what is your choice there?
I was just going to say the first one because there was lots of numbers and then there was a bunch of stats and I got confused, honestly. So the first one was the most impressive for me.
Thank you, Billy, for nothing. I look forward to seeing what you and Stugotz do together in another.
How did that happen, by the way? Yeah, can we redraft? How did I get stuck with him again? I can't lose this guy.
Roy, what was your favorite stat from among those stats?
Oh, because it's including the Panthers, it's definitely Boston being the first city to lose a game 7 in hockey and basketball in the same season.
Jeremy?
It has to be including the guy that they couldn't live without, Tyler Hero, adding to Caleb Martin's three-point shooting and them out-shooting both Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. I mean, Caleb Martin, man.
Tony?
How does Duncan Robinson have 15 attempts inside the restricted area? Does he have 15 attempts inside the restricted area all season?
You told him not to do that. You said he's got to be a shooter.
Which he did. Finally, game 7, he let it fly without any hesitancy. That was why he was hitting those shots. But how does Duncan Robinson have so many layups?
I forgot, by the way, I got the stat wrong. It wasn't 13 of 15. It was 15 of 17. So
What?
he was spending even more time in the paint. Brad Williams, what was the most impressive of those stats to you?
As a Laker fan, I enjoy the tears of Boston. So let's go with Boston being the only city to ever lose 2 game 7s in their home. I just love that Boston had a few years of just unparalleled championships between the Patriots, Celtics, and Bruins, and then Red Sox, and now a gut punch of a single season.
It is, I didn't even mention, it is so amazing to see the story arc go from down 3-0 apocalypse, winning to tie it at 3-3, Stugotz, with a 1/10 of a second left in what would have been a historic, forever remembered shot, if not for yourself. The way that your star Paul Pierce did one time in a wheelchair as a franchise so that your season just ends in the smell of shit in your arena, in your silent arena. JuJu, I don't understand what you're doing. You are in now in Miami gear. You were in Boston gear. I don't know that your words mean anything, but among these stats, which was your favorite?
My favorite stat is Heat in 3, baby. Just like I always said. This game
Right.
coming.
Stugotz points out here via the chat that Caleb Martin is going to be paid less this season than Bobby Bonilla.
Bobby Bo.
A number of things here that are worth enjoying, and forgive us because we're going to split this up in a second. Greg Cody and Chris Cody. Chris Cody right now is walking his father by the hand to the train because they are trying to get back after we have lost power, and we're going to try and do this the best that we can today. But from what it is that we watched yesterday, I don't want to lose sight, Stugotz, of the fact that that feels so good, at least in part, because you have the combination of the way Game 6 felt, which is as bad as one fan base can feel and as good as another fan base can feel, where you're confused, looking at replays, did you get the shot off in time, to go from the emotion of that to the very next game in a Boston that was already celebrating the way that Miami got made fun of years ago because Bosh and LeBron and Wade celebrated before they actually won the game. They went from making the Miami Heat a historic, echoing laughingstock as the first to ever lose a 3-0 lead, to come back with hope in your arena and never have a good moment at home in the last game as you're the favorite by 7.5. All the money is on you in Vegas. Everyone knows that you're the better team right up until you try to be the Warriors, but you don't have 2 players who can be the Warriors shooting from the perimeter. You miss your first 11 threes and the arena is dead. Your season is dead before Game 7 can even get off the ground. Mike, how much did you enjoy that part of it? The part where you get to laugh at Boston when Boston spent the entire weekend laughing at you.
It was kind of weird because I expected way more drama and more Boston tears, but it's almost as if Boston and their fan base had the entire game to cope with what was happening. I kind of wanted it to get a little bit tighter, and there were some moments there in that fourth quarter where Boston would keep bringing it up to 7. And then Caleb Martin was the go-to player there. Jimmy Butler was deferring to Caleb Martin. I don't know what, I think I know what Boston figured out with Jimmy Butler is they weren't biting on that pump fake, and you saw Jimmy just completely go away from the pump fake at sometimes. But there was a realization from everybody on that court in that Heat uniform. Their offense got stagnant, and they just had to keep feeding Caleb Martin undrafted Caleb Martin. Caleb Martin, which when we signed him to that contract extension last year, we just were all resigned to, here's another overpaid deal. And that was one of the best bargains in the NBA.
Yeah, it was great. All the best moments for the Celtics and their fan base happened before the game. The announcement of the starting lineups, Larry Bird walked in, McHale, the Chief walked in. All the old Celtics were hanging around for a big Game 7. I mean, it was great. If you dislike Boston, that was a great, great weekend. It really was. And Dan, I don't know what they do with Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Masula. I have no idea. Everybody break up the team, fire the coach. They're not going to do anything. I mean, this team went to the Eastern Conference Finals this year. They went to the NBA Finals a year ago. Those are two of the top 15 players in the NBA. What are they going to do? I mean, seriously.
Stugotz, I would just tell you, that's fine. You can say that as a blueprint thing, but they have a $300 million decision to make. And at the time that they needed Jaylen Brown to be a 1, at the time they needed him to do what Tatum was doing, Caleb Martin was doing it as a bargain on the other team. When Stugotz, it wasn't but 4 quarters ago that Stan Van Gundy was saying out loud on the broadcast, Jimmy Butler looks intimidated. It wasn't that long ago. Jimmy Butler and Bam were terrible in Game 6. Bam was terrible in Game 7. Jaylen Brown is supposed to do what Caleb Martin did. What Caleb Martin did at value is what they're about to pay $300 million for Jaylen Brown to give him 8 turnovers. Stugotz, you say don't do nothing, but you just saw what the Panthers did when they weren't good enough.
Right.
That team, if Jaylen Brown's your number 2 and you need him to be number 1, you're proper screwed. Because look at what happened in that game when he just started taking jumpers all over the place and couldn't carry anybody. And in the middle of it, they're like, Derek White, can you please save us?
Yeah, but Dan, what I'm saying is Jaylen Brown is still a top 15, 20 player in the NBA. Like Jason Tatum, that injury was unfortunate, and Jaylen Brown did not have the game that he probably should have had. Once your number 1 goes down, the number 2 needs to become your number 1. But I don't know if the Celtics have any other option than to re-sign Jaylen Brown and bring him back with Jason Tatum. And let's not forget, Dan, it's Eastern Conference Finals and NBA Finals. That's where this team has been the last couple of years. And if not for a Tatum ankle injury, first play of the game, perhaps they're back in the NBA Finals today. I mean,
Jeremy, why are you shaking your head no like that?
That game was a dominant blowout. Whether Jason Tatum played or not, the Miami Heat had Boston's number there, and it was a number of different players that didn't play well. Jason Tatum still played every minute of that game. Every single player on both of these teams at this time of the season is banged up. We talk about that all the time. And yeah, we saw Jason Tatum get hurt, but he played through it. If he wasn't on the floor, maybe we have a conversation, but no, that was the Heat starting 2-guard.
Oh, look, Greg Cody has arrived. He has arrived and he has put up a finger. He has found his way on the train in order to get here and be a part of the proceedings before we break up into 2 teams here. Greg Cody, welcome. What do you have for us here? You have some deep thoughts?
I don't know how deep they are, but the Boston Celtics have proven in this series that they're not that good.
This is Inu and an improved LeBatardShow with the Stugotz. Gamble on by DraftKings.
so someone decided it was a good idea today, of all days, to connect our show to Dan Patrick's show. And by doing so, all the electricity in our studio and in the city of Miami, the entire 305, is out, the entire grid. So we had to rush home. We have divided, and we're going to try to do the divide and conquer strategy. So we are Team B. Team B.
I don't like it.
Okay. You don't like it?
We always get the B label, and I don't know why it is that we always get the B label. We're always kind of like the afterthought, the scraps, the forgotten ones. Here's Team B.
Team R.
I don't mind being on Team B because with Team B comes lowered expectations, and I like expectations to be very low for me. That way I can exceed the expectations. Team A comes with a lot of pressure, and it comes with LeBatard. So, I mean, I am perfectly fine right here with this crew, you know?
Speaking of lowered expectations, Brad Williams here, Dwarf.
Hey, Brad.
I would just like to say that Team B, Billy, just look at it as not the second best. Look at it as Team B is Team Billy, Bellamy, and Brad. That's what Team B is.
Boom.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay.
So I have a question
like
for
it.
you guys. We know Team A very, very well. We're with them every day. Okay. We know what they're probably going to be talking about. And so my question for you guys is this. Billy, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
Do you want to discuss the things they are talking about and try to do them better? Or do you want to go the opposite and talk about the things we know they are not talking about? Which
Okay.
way, Billy?
So you want to have a little contest and see if we can do a better show. I feel like maybe we should take the audience into consideration, because when we split up, we don't really know what the other show is going to be talking about. So if we're both doing the same thing, then we're just doing an hour of the exact same, well, I guess 2 hours of the same show over and over and over again, right? So should we talk about the other things? I mean, what are the other things that we should talk about?
I know what they're talking about right now. They're talking about Ryan Cortez calling into the hub for the 1700th time. That was the most hilarious thing. Salute to my brother Ryan. I love you. They're also talking about how Mike Ryan does have the right to cheer for the team. He was just doing a thing the entire time and being obnoxious. And Tony is blaming shit on AI.
Yeah.
Somehow
So you're
Miami
saying we're
Hurricanes
predictable. I mean,
And baseball.
And most importantly, Dan is talking about how Jaylen Brown, after that performance, if he even wants to go back to Boston regarding Boston's racist history, and he will bring it up ad nauseum.
Yeah, that's good.
Likely.
So Jeremy Taché is a Heat fan. Which way do you want to go here? Because I know you're dying to talk to Miami Heat, but I think we all know they're talking Heat over there. So we have the Panthers. They're about to play in the Stanley Cup for the second time in team history. My daughter became a national champion over the weekend. I mean, what is it? You guys take it wherever you want to go. I'm happy to discuss the Heat. I'm happy to try to do what they're doing and do it better. But Jeremy, I'm going to leave this up to you. I don't know why, but I am.
I really appreciate you leaving this in my hands. You know, it as someone obviously who covers the Heat, who's a fan of the team, who I'm pretty sure the only reason I'm even in this group is just to make sure that you guys don't get the Heat stuff factually incorrect.
What's that
Well, I mean, I was explicitly told, hey, go over there and make sure they don't get the Heat stuff factually incorrect. So the only reason I'm here
Wait
is
a minute.
and yet, I want to start in the rightful place, which is a Northwestern lacrosse national champions.
Yeah.
Time out.
By the way, who also made an entire city of Boston shut the hell up, okay?
Yeah.
I mean, how about that? You know?
Time out. So you're a spy. You were sent here with a job to do what? Make sure that
Aren't we
what
all
said-
here with a job?
No,
Aren't we all sent here to make content?
Billy, I think when it went downhill, and the reason Mike was really kind of pushing Jeremy to be in this group is when I had Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, and Larry Bird in the building last night, and they weren't. But Mike doesn't know they live there. Those guys, they're always there. They're never
always
not
there in spirit.
Yes.
Did someone actually tell you go and make sure that they say things factually correct?
No, but it was a little bit of, hey, Stugotz said a few things that were not quite accurate on the Heat. So let's make sure we've got somebody who actually knows what happened in Game 7 over on the other team. Just in case there's a decision to talk about, you know, the greatest franchise in the NBA. And
let me explain what happened to the Celtics and the Heat, okay?
Time in.
The Heat, a team that Mike Ryan has not believed in the entire year, hasn't had the bandwidth to pay attention to. What they did is they went into Boston in Game 7 after losing 3 straight, and they kicked the Celtics' ass. Does that sum it up?
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
It was really, I mean, it was unbelievable. And if we want just for a second to talk about that part of it, like the Miami Heat did the impossible this season in being an 8 seed to go into Boston and win in a Game 7, to now upset the 1 and the 2 seeds and beat the New York Knicks, who we know, you know, they weren't quite on the same level as the Heat throughout the season and into this postseason. But what the Miami Heat have done is really, 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 really remarkable. And they did it despite the fact that realistically in the last 4 games, there were a couple games there where Jimmy Butler had numbers. And in Game 7, Jimmy Butler had moments when he needed to take over. But in that last game and really throughout the series, it was about all the other guys. It was Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin and Duncan Robinson, who nobody expected to see. You know, Duncan Robinson was second on the team in fourth quarter scoring in the series. Duncan Robinson. And he was nearly unbeatable in the paint. I mean, it was really, it was such an example of, and I hate to be this guy, but this series was the ultimate example of Heat culture. Not just beating a team that's more talented, but being able to bounce back from something that we all historically have seen you lose that game 6 that way, you're not bouncing back and blowing out the other team by 20. And yet that's what he did. Their defense shut down Boston. It was an unbelievable performance.
Billy, why are you shaking your head?
Ding dong. Ding dong.
It's a Team A guy over here.
Ding dong. Who's there?
Team A guy.
This is a Team A guy. You'd be a horrible undercover cop because you're just doing your cop things in here and letting everybody know.
He's a cop.
I don't like it.
All right, fair enough.
Why, you wanted him to go the opposite way and not talk eat?
Nah, he's doing the show that they're doing. If we're trying to give him something different for this hour.
Well, I can tell you one thing from that Keep broadcast as the outsider that I thought was the best thing is once the game was over on the championship podium, did anyone notice that they tried to push Spo to reveal what was the inspirational video that he showed the team? And he completely just sidestepped it. It was like, we don't need to talk about that. We don't need to talk about the inspirational video.
He sidestepped that, and when Bam tried to hand Jimmy the conference finals trophy, he said, "No, I'll hold the next one." Yeah. It wasn't on mic, but you could see it. You could read his lip. I'll hold the next one.
Jimmy should have passed it along to Caleb Martin.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did anyone notice Spo get a little handsy with EJ there, Ernie Johnson?
Yeah, he grabbed his arm.
I mean, Billy, you didn't see this?
Ernie's a good-looking guy, man. I don't know.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. You're right, but Spo had his hands all over Ernie. He was pushing him around. I mean, enough.
I have a question for you guys because I was thinking this yesterday when I saw Spo not just coaching, but when I saw him in that interview in between quarters. So he is not shaved and he doesn't have a good beard. Like he can't grow a great beard, and it's like a little bit gray / white now, but it's a little bit patchy. Which, like, no shame to him. I grow the same beard, but. Are we doing that to look like we're so busy that we don't have time to shave our beards, and that's why that's going on? Because here's what I'm thinking is if they go on and they win the NBA Finals, right? If he goes back and he watches video and he hasn't shaved between now and then, he's going to be like, man, someone should have told me something. I look terrible. I should have shaved. And now forever I have this crowning achievement of winning an NBA championship, and I look not great because I didn't shave and no one told me to.
I was just gonna say salute to Charlotte Wilder, my big sister Charlotte Wilder, and my little brother Michael Scher. You feel me? I know y'all having a rough morning.
Yeah.
Be all right. Trouble don't last always,
And Sarah Sivian.
Succession also ended, guys.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But no one answered Billy's question. I mean,
I can answer Billy's question. I don't think Spo cares. I think the glow. The obvious glow, the mad scientist look of I've been in the lab orchestrating exactly what's going to happen here. He's not going to care when he looks back at this. It's a different era. It's a different era.
Someone around it. You should do it. If the next time you see me, you should.
Oh yeah, that's what we should do. I should tell him to shave.
Pass a razor through that stuff. You know what I mean? Like, trust me on this one.
You should do that, Jeremy. If you had any balls, you would do it. I mean,
sometimes people respect people that tell them things like that because, like, he probably scares a lot of people there, I would think, right? And no one wants to tell him, "Hey, you look a little rough. Let's trim that." You know what I mean?
So just checking in with a friend.
Exactly
just, hey,
right.
Spo,
you tell them
pull
that
you aside for a second.
Yeah.
No.
Got a minute? Let's just off the record, a little quick convo. You look like shit. Shave that off your face. You know what I mean?
No. That's a playoff beard, Billy.
That's hockey.
Yeah, but it's not a beard, Roy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's stubble. It's playoff stubble.
Yeah.
Brad Williams, how would you handle this situation in telling Spo the beard's not working?
I would say, Spo, try to keep the beard going because that's the secret of aging. The secret of aging is not to look good. Because when Spo is completely shaved, he's one of the best looking coaches in the league. He's got to get that raggedy ass beard going because the secret of aging is that you look horrible, but you look horrible for 40 years.
Okay. Put that on the poll, Billy. Is the secret to aging to look horrible? Because that's what I'm going for. I mean,
yeah, look like Budenholzer.
I do. Really?
No, I'm just saying, look like Budenholzer. Go with that look.
Okay.
Oh, you're getting close.
Jeremy, are you upset at the theory that I brought up to Dan Patrick? Because perhaps today is not the day to do it, but Erik Spoelstra's stock will never be higher. And therefore, if he's ever thought about leaving, considering the jobs that are open, okay? Yes. Now, listen, Roy, you laugh, but I'm telling you, the championship that Kobe won without Shaq was infinitely more important to him than the championship that he won with Shaq. And Spo doing this without LeBron, without Wade, without Bosh, and Jimmy bleeping Butler as his best player, Spo's stock never higher. Giannis is open. The Bucks job is open. You have Durant and Chris Paul and Devin Booker open in Phoenix. There are plush plum jobs, and Spo can leave right now. He can write down his salary on a piece of paper, tell him he wants to be team president and head coach, get out underneath the Pat Riley shadow, and do this thing on his own. It'd be a great move by Spo right now, Jerry.
He's never leaving.
Yeah,
Never.
he's never
Like
leaving.
Pop.
And
Why?
if it wasn't already sort of written in the stars, or maybe potentially already written down on paper, that much is, I guess, journalism that's beyond my purview. But Erik Spoelstra is going to take over this organization. He will be the president of basketball operations whenever it is that the time comes. And who knows? Look, maybe this is the perfect moment. Really, the question for you, Stugotz, should be is this the moment for Riley to look at this and go, this is my swan song. This is my moment to step out and show I made you another champion. Here are the keys, son. Take over the organization. That's the greater question that I'd be asking myself if the Heat get 4 more wins.
Bob Myers stepped down. What if Pat Riley goes to Golden State?
Oh, my God.
What are we doing?
That's how we do it and do it better.
All right, guys, so I have a question. Stugotz, obviously, as we mentioned in the last segment, his daughter Rachel is now a national champion at Northwestern. They won the Lacrosse national championship. And some of you know this, some of you might not, but back a few years ago, Stugotz and I connected for the very first time as I became the video editor for his daughter Rachel's lacrosse highlight reels to get her recruited to go to school.
Wait, what?
Yep, this is the truth.
Yeah.
This is the truth. A couple of years ago, Stugotz tried to get Lorenzo to work on the highlight reels for his daughter as she was trying to get recruited for college. And Lorenzo knew how desperately I wanted to be anywhere near the show, so he pawned this task off on me. And I became the video editor for Rachel.
Yeah.
And in turn, I
Did
feel
you-
some...
Did you
go
pay
ahead, Bill.
them anything?
Did I pay
Stugotz?
who? Lorenzo? Lorenzo didn't do anything. He introduced
you-
me to Jeremy.
Did you pay Jeremy?
I
I believe
ultimately
so.
paid at some point, I think.
At
Somewhere
some
down
point.
the line. It initially started in paying by, hey, here are the other dads on the team, and they have daughters, and you can go ahead, you can cut their lacrosse reel. They'll pay you for sure, and we'll get back to you. But ultimately, I do think Abby guilt-tripped Stugotz into paying me somewhere down the line. Nonetheless, I feel some level of connection to this national championship. I feel some level of personal responsibility.
As you should.
Yeah, you're going to get a
And-
ring. Yeah.
And so I do deserve a ring alongside a Heat ring. And ultimately, I'm sure Stu will get back to me on that. But I texted Stu because I was incredibly excited about this. And I texted him, holy shit, congratulations. So happy for Rachel and for you and for the whole family. Congrats again. He responded saying, thank you, man. What a day. And then 4 hours later, I get a text from Stugotz that says, when I told Rachel, this text is from the guy who put all your highlight videos together, she and my wife started to cry.
That's a
Thank
lie.
you, buddy.
That's
So
a
the
lie.
question
That's
is,
absolutely a lie.
that's the question. Is this truth? Is this a lie? Billy, you're better than anybody at reading Stugotz's language. Was he telling me the truth, or was this his way of trying to express, I'm thankful, thank you, but this is a bold-faced lie?
Why even make that up? Why is your wife and why are they both crying in the
It was
thing?
a very emotional moment to see your daughter that happy, to see a dream come true, to see it fulfilled, to know she has 3 more years left to play there, and she already has a Big Ten championship and a national championship. And I felt the support of this entire show, except for you, Brad Williams, okay? Because everyone was texting me, congratulations. I felt it. I got it from Dan, Mike, Greg Cody, Chris Cody, Billy, Mikey A., JuJu, I think you forgot about me. Roy is focused on the Stanley Cup.
My love.
Yeah.
What? I did that. Stu, I don't have your number.
That's fair, and I don't want you to have it, and so that's
I'm trying to make sure you never ask me for a favor because then I come down to Florida. I'm doing shows at Miami Improv. You want a couple of tickets. You want a VIP experience. Then you don't show up. I'm trying to avoid this happening, so I don't. I don't need your number.
Brad tweeted about it a couple of times while the game was going on.
Listen, I felt the love, and so what I'm saying is Rachel did not achieve this or accomplish this
Without
on
us.
her own. I'm sorry about that, JuJu. I cut you off. My apologies. Is it something that was so good that needs to be said again? Do you want to say it again?
Absolutely not.
But what we realized, and what I realized, especially after winning it, was this was not something that Rachel accomplished by herself. That there were a million people involved, from trainers to support, to mentors, to someone like Jeremy who helped her put her highlight video together and did such a good job that it attracted Syracuse and North Carolina and Northwestern and all these lacrosse powerhouses. And what happened after winning the game was a lot of those people started to reach out. And it made me and Abby think back to the entirety of the process of Rachel starting to play lacrosse when she was 6 years old, all the way up until right now, where she just won a national championship. And it became a very an emotional experience for both me, Abby, and Rachel as well. And so all I did was say, hey, this is from Jeremy Taché. He works on the show now. He was the guy, because Rachel was in 10th grade. She didn't know. This is the guy who put together your highlight videos and did such a good job that it helped you get into the school you wanted to go to, and they got very emotional. That is the truth. I mean, listen, I don't expect you to believe me. Billy's already shaking his head. He's already on record saying,
of all the people that were involved,
cried.
The line wasn't Jeremy. That it's like, this is where they started crying.
Well, and this is the part that's difficult for me, right? Because I received that text message and forgetting that Stugotz was Stugotz, I initially got emotional. I did. This made me kind of teary-eyed because I was thinking about the idea of like, oh man, I was like this small part, and this is my initial link to the show, even though Stugotz is not at all the person who helped me ultimately get to the show.
Yeah, but
and
I was.
And he was. But he was. So sure, give him credit. But ultimately, like, I was sitting here feeling like, man, what a cool accomplishment. Like, because I remember playing showcase baseball and thinking of the same things. And I'm now going through my own memories. I'm thinking, oh, how cool it would have been to be a national champion. And within about 10 minutes after I texted Stugotz telling him how emotional it made me, I had the realization of, this is probably bullshit. So I think I need to bring it to the show and ask everybody else who could read the lines a little better than I can.
So Jeremy responded, Roy, by saying, oh man, this made me teary-eyed. So he met my tears with his own tears.
I did.
So I'm not certain Taché was crying, to be honest.
I'm telling the truth.
Not crying.
Crocodile tears.
And his memories need to get over themselves because they had no place in Rachel's moment. I also
Exactly. Thank you, JuJu.
That's exactly what happened.
I think
that was Rachel's moment, not Stugotz's moment or Jeremy's
moment. Exactly. This is what I think happened right here. This is what I think happened. Oh, hey, this is from Jeremy Taché. And they looked at each other and was like, oh, and hugged more or some shit.
Exactly.
It caused them to cry. I call BS. Salute to Rachel.
So JuJu, you're saying they were already in an emotional state before I showed them the text from Jeremy.
Right?
Yeah.
Stugotz.
If I'm already celebrating the Heat's win like they did, go Heat culture, and you come over here with a high five, of course I'm going to give you a high five. I'm not going to be like, oh, me and you had a great moment of high five.
Right. So perhaps it made me cry and no one else, maybe. No, because I didn't cry. I mean.
We saw you. I saw you on
Did anyone cry? Put it on the poll.
Yeah.
Did anybody cry at all? Rachel, Jeremy, Stugotz, who cares?
Saw you out there looking high as hell. I was like, well, look at Stu.
Oh yeah, high as a kite.
Now, Stu, do you celebrate with a little bit of the ganja, or do you try to keep it straight around your daughter and your family? How does Stu party after a national championship?
After my daughter's national championship, I party like I won it. Yeah, that's it. With a lot of tequila. And then, so perhaps I smoked when I got back to the hotel room. But I wanted to separate the two. But there was a big party afterwards, and we had a blast. It was an emotional time. But I think I was crying. I was emotional. I am not certain Jeremy was moved that much where he was moved to tears. And so I am now going to spin this where Taché is the one lying.
Might be fair.
Because I was crying. I doubt that you had a single tear in your eye, Jeremy.
No, I will say it touched me that the idea that it could make your family as emotional as it did. So it wasn't like I wasn't like this big emotional basket case that she had won a championship. It was more the idea of, oh wow, look at this moment that just got shared in the middle of all of this, that I feel so thankful to be a part of a family moment that was shared in this glory, and then really pretty immediately realized like there was no way that it was actual tears. Like it had to be just an over-exaggeration, because I get it. I've been the same. I responded to you saying I was teary-eyed, and who knows whether or not that was the truth. This
has to be one of Stugotz's greatest pivots ever. And in terms of how he practices, I'm just gonna say Stugotzu, the art of Stugotzu, where he lied, turns the lie around, puts it on Jeremy, and now we're all looking at Jeremy like, Jeremy, why'd you lie?
How did this happen?
I had very much the opposite interaction with Stugotz during the game, where I tried to fire the coach before not putting his daughter in. I'm like, what are we waiting for? I was like, I've been watching this game for an hour. What are we waiting for? Put in Rachel. They should fire the coach. And Stugotz like, buddy, this game's not over. I'm like, dude, it is like 14-4 right now. They are not. I've been watching lacrosse for an hour. I know they're not coming back from this.
Wait, no, this is great because Billy wanted to fire the coach who was about to win her 8th national championship. 8 national championships since 2005, 5th consecutive Final Four, the most decorated coach in women's lacrosse history. And Billy, I appreciate the support. You wanted to fire her because she didn't put Rachel in. But Rachel was fine because Rachel gets a ring. Rachel got 3.5 minutes in the national semifinal game. Like, she was good. She wanted to go out and celebrate with her teammates. I was fine with it, yet Billy somehow was not. And
I was offended. I was offended that this was going on. It was a blowout. Put everybody in. Have everybody experience that game together. By the way, I felt really bad for the Boston College head coach, who I think is now 1-8 in national championship games or something like that.
Man.
Yeah. Why'd you feel bad for her? I mean, my daughter won a natty. I mean,
because you go to the national championship so many times and you've lost it so many times. I'm like, man, this isn't great. And the conditions weren't great. It seemed a little rainy there. Maybe a wet
for both
pitch.
teams, though. By the way.
Okay, I'm just saying, not.
I mean, hey,
winners and losers there, Stugotz.
Hey, BC coach, how about you do me a favor, okay? Because I coached for 10 years, and my team went undefeated 2 years in a row. We won back-to-back national championships. Make anyone else beat you other than Izzy Skane, okay? She's the best lacrosse player in the country. You might want to double and triple team that girl. She's really good.
Don't beat it.
Also, BC coach, put your rings in the box and put Rachel's rings in the box. Get what you got.
I think they're even.
Yeah.
Look at you.
She's got 1. Rachel has 1. But Rachel does have more than Kevin Durant. How about that?
Hello.
Oh, boy.
Hey.
Hey-oh. So, Jeremy, you didn't cry. I didn't cry. And I got to be honest, I never showed the text to Rachel or Abby.
I had a feeling that was the truth. You're just circling back around at all the people that you're looking like, all right, did I give them a good enough message back? They were really excited. I sent like 8,000 exclamation points, and I got back, hey, thanks, buddy. So this was, he's feeling a little guilty later on, and he's like, all right, how can I make Jeremy feel better about this? I know what to do. More crocodile tears through text. Crocodile tears through text. It's amazing. I'm proud of you, Stu. This is a masterclass. You're right. Stugotz, Brad.
Yeah, I did, Brad. This is.
I know you
it will
wasn't
never get
crying.
better for me than right now.
You know how I know you wasn't crying, Jeremy Taché? Because Caleb Martin had not Caleb Martin, what Derek White had just did some that I know it wasn't over yet. You feel me? Salute to you, though.
Man, Heat and 7 always. Heat and 7 always. Never a doubt.